So when you're working in a small shop, you've got to make every inch count. Now that my workbench is all finished up, I'm on to my next project, and that is going to be a cabinet that's going to hold a table saw and a router table. It's got to fit into a relatively small footprint of about 4 foot wide and about 3 foot deep, and I've got 5 key criteria that I want to hit. First of all, it's got to have space for the table saw. Second of all, the router table. It's got to have storage underneath, its own built-in dust extraction, and integrated outfeed support. So let's get into it and see what happens.
So in order to make the most of the space and get everything to fit, I decided to give SketchUp a go for the first time. It was definitely a bit of a learning curve, and I'm probably only using about 10% of its capabilities, but this was a really useful tool when you're designing a new project to fit in a small space. Cramming everything in, especially looking at dust collection space on the back, and making sure that everything would fit, will save so much time in the long run and hopefully make things much easier and much more efficient from a cut list point of view. But as you can see, this fits the 5 criteria. We've got space for the dust collection, we've got space for the table saw on top, a router table on the side, storage underneath, and we have fold and outfeed supports. How hard can it be? So to get started on the basic cabinetry, I went out and I bought 3 sheets of 18mm plywood. I got them to make the first few cuts in the store so I could fit it in the car. This would have definitely been made easier if I took the car seat out before I started loading in the plywood, but here we are. So now I've got some big chunks of plywood, all different shapes, and I've got to work out what's what. So when I start milling down myself, I'm not making any mistakes. Definitely worth investing some time up front to just measure things out, label things up with just a bit of masking tape so you know what you've got, and that's going to help the rest of the cut list go much easier. On the subject of cut lists, I was feeling all high tech after using SketchUp, and I decided to use Cut List Optimizer. This was actually really handy. I plugged in all the measurements of all the different pieces that I needed, and then Cut List Optimizer then worked out the most effective way for me to trim that down to get the most out of my material. If only it could work out how to cut this on a contractor saw that's on a temporary stand in a tiny workshop. Wasn't the easiest, but we got there in the end. There were definitely some cuts that I decided not to show you, because we were getting sketchy. And on the off chance that my mum ever watches this, she'll tell me off. Got the chance to try out the built-in crosscut sled that's on my new Evolution table saw. Very nice. And sometimes we just had to eyeball things because it was just going to be too wide to use a fence. Check out the built-in dust collection on this saw. It's really good. If only I plugged it into the dust extractor, which is right there. So this is all well and good at the early stages, but as you get through towards the end of the cut, start thinking what's going to happen. Nothing happened. You don't want to know what happened. It's all fine. I'm fine. Now they've got basic pieces down to size, it's time to start thinking about pocket holes and bringing together our cabinets. As soon as the first cabinet starts to go up, I rapidly start running out of space in this shop, so it's important to get this done, move things around, get it in place so I can finish it off, otherwise I'm definitely going to hurt myself. There's lots of cabinet builds on YouTube, lots of people use birch ply, but I'm not that guy. This is shop furniture, regular old B&Q plywood will do. Pretty sure I don't really need glue at this stage, but I thought I'd just put it in just for belt and braces, just to make sure this thing is as strong as possible, because there is going to be quite a bit of weight in this when it's all put together. Because space was so tight, it wasn't really worth the effort to get my miter saw out, nor was it worth the hassle to make these wide cuts on the table saw just because of space issues. I think I might be in the market for a track saw very soon, so if anyone knows any recommendations, then let me know what you think's good. Then just going to screw in some stretches across just to give the stability to the joint. Not using pocket holes here, just drilling straight through. That's actually much cleaner in my opinion, and they're just as strong. These are also all going to be hidden by the final build, so why bother? As you can see, what I've made here is a very deep cabinet. I want to have dust extraction in the back with drawers in the front, so I'm going to put a central divide through the middle just to keep the two compartments separate. So in order to do that, I'm just going to cut a little bit off-cut. I can then use that as a reference to see how far back to push the central divide, leaving enough room for the dust extractor in the back. Moment of truth, has SketchUp let me down, or will this fit? It's just a pretty cheap dust extractor with an automatic on switch made by a company called Charnwood. They're just local to me, so if you want a cheap dust extractor that does the job, then I'll leave a link in the description below. Nailed it. So now we've got the rough outline of the table saw base, it's time to build the cabinet which is going to hold the router table and also have some storage in as well. The idea here is that this is going to be a much taller cabinet, which is going to be the difference between the table saw and the table saw base. So everything is then flush up to the top of the table saw when we're all said and done. At least that's what SketchUp said, so we'll see if it works out in the end. It's first time really building proper cabinets. They're actually pretty easy. It would be easy in a big shop. In a small shop, time for stretchers again. Now these are slightly oversized, and that's because I'm going to use these to connect the two cabinets together. You'll see what I mean, just wait. I'm not eating screws, no matter. It just looks bad. This top stretcher is really quite big, and that's because it's going to be the divide between where the table saw sits and the back of the router table, so it's much bigger than normal, and I decided to just try and clamp it in just so I can hold it in place and then screw it in. And I promise it wasn't like 3 minutes of deleted footage of me trying to faff around and get this in place, keep dropping it and the clamps going everywhere. This is the first time, straight out the gate, nailed it. Now that's all done, it's just time to butt the two cabinets together and then connect the two stretchers. After fitting the table saw just to check everything lines up as expected, I'm going to do one last measurement before making another box on the side where we're going to hold push sticks and things like that. This isn't how it's going to be set up in the end, but this is already much easier than it was. Nothing to see here. I'm a craftsman. When I flipped the box over just to put the final set of pocket holes in, I realised the box had gone slightly skew with and it wasn't quite lining up with the face, so I'm just going to put a clamp on there, line everything all up and then drop the pocket hole screws through, and that'll keep everything locked nice and square. So behind the saw I'm going to have another box which is going to be partly an outfeed table, give me somewhere to connect a bigger outfeed table that flips up, but then also I'm going to be able to feed through some of the dust extraction from both the router table and the table saw down to the dust extraction below. No fixed lid here because I need to come up with a removable solution down the line.
Okay, so that's it for this part of this build. This thing's really coming together. We've got the basic cabinetry done, we've got the table saw in, we've got the dust collection fits, still need to hook that all up. We need to do the router table, the top, the drawers. There's still plenty more to come on this, so if you want to see how it turns out, then please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.